it is interesting to take note of sort of the environmental movement and then I think its successor, the climate movement, because the genealogy of that movement definitely goes back to a very kind of colonialist view around environmental issues. I mean, you look at like national parks and the advocacy for national parks is just, it's a very ignorant call for this idea of common space that should generate, benefit the public. But in reality, it was a form of colonialism where you were usurping control of lands away from indigenous people and trying to claim them as not necessarily just belonging to the state, but belonging to this idea of the commons as well, which was a form of alienating those lands from indigenous people. And so then, there's that kind of attitude where it was more about the trees than it was about the people who had been from that territory for generations. I think we've come a long way in that regard. I think that the climate movement, the environmental movement, 15 years ago, had this as a real problem. Whereas today, I think both in BC and in Canada and even the States and, growing around the world, there has been a shift, I think, generationally, where younger climate activists sort of understand this concept that there are Indigenous people, that Indigenous people have rights, that these territories belong to Indigenous people, and that many Indigenous people are going to face some of the most severe consequences of the climate emergencies. So I think there's been a shift in that regard.